Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a great day. As today's video, like I said in the Oscar Clefbaum video earlier, if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. We are talking about the upcoming season for the Edmonton Oilers, and I'm excited. Even though it's a 50 game season and there's all these restrictions and stuff, I'm still excited for this upcoming season. One of the Probably the biggest thing I'm excited for is we get to play Calgary 9 to 10 times this season. And what can I say? It's, you know, we, the Battle of Alberta ignited last season with, the goalie fight, Mike Smith, Cam Talbot, the Zach Kassian, basically showing Kachuk who's boss is how I'm going to put it. Even Nugent Hopkins fought in that. The Battle of Alberta was renewed, and it almost seemed like it gave the Oilers, what's the word I'm looking for? Like momentum. Like it pumped them up for even if they weren't playing Calgary, they went out a lot more physical, you know, all that. So breaking down everything that the NHL came up with is because Edmonton was a play-in round team, they have to report to Edmonton for January 3rd. A lot of players are already back because of quarantine reasons, but that's when the training camp can start is January 3rd. Now, everyone knows the season's starting on January 13th, and we have the North Division. We're just going to call it the Canadian Division because you know what? We are the North. So we look at the Canadian Division and see how we stack up. And I kind of went over it in the Oscar Clefbaum video, as in, the top four teams of each division make the playoffs. Then the winner of the division will go to, I don't know if they have a bubble hub city they're planning on doing or if they're what's going on because we don't know about the travel restrictions. So each team that finishes first in a division will move on to the Stanley Cup round against however they're seeded. Now we take a more in-depth look. 4 out of 7 teams. The Oilers' chances of being a playoff team is up there. Don't get me wrong, it is up there. Because let's start in the east of the Canadian teams. Ottawa. They are practically in a rebuild mode. They're going to use a lot of their younger guys, get them so they can have NHL experience. They didn't really go out. They signed Matt Murray to help out their goaltending a bit. But let's be honest, Matt Murray in the last 2 years has been, not the Matt Murray that won back-to-back Stanley Cups at a young age. You also have the Montreal Canadiens. I say they are a wild card. Their team is really dependent on how Carey Price plays for the Montreal Canadiens. Sorry, I almost said Edmonton Oilers for some reason. As you got a fight on your screen, apparently James Neal fights. But anyway, back to the topic. Then, you got Toronto, which, sorry, the headset's running low there. You got Toronto that, most likely will be one of those 4 teams. Now we go more to the west. You got the Winnipeg Jets. You got the reigning Vezina winner in Connor Hellebuyck. But you also lost Brian Little for the whole season. You brought back a guy that, in Stastny, that when he was here the first time around, it didn't go so well. Stastny was not the player they were hoping to be. I don't think Stastny is a second line center for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm sorry, he is getting old. He is getting up there. He is going to get beat by guys like McDavid, Matthews, Elias Pettersson. He is going to get beat. He's just not fast enough to keep up with those centermen. Now you hit the Edmonton Oilers, which, I already said they got to be a playoff team this year. Even with Oscar Klefbom being out, they went out, signed Tyson Barrie. The goaltending stayed the same, but a lot of people have to leave the goaltending off the books for the Edmonton Oilers, because what people are forgetting, they're just looking at the play-in round, how bad the goalies were. Well, sorry, but the whole team played terrible. I think the game they won was, they played all right. They didn't really deserve to win that game, but they did. They somehow managed to sneak a win out of there. But the rest, it was a team effort. No defensive players, nothing. A lot of people standing still. So when it comes to the goalies, you got to look bigger picture. What did Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen do last year for the Edmonton Oilers? Well, they led them to the fourth best record in the West, fifth by winning percentage. That's why we got Chicago. They also made us the best Canadian team for wins and win percentage last season. So you gotta give it to them. The Edmonton Oilers went 37, 25, and 8 or something like that. Edmonton had a winning season, and you guys are still trying to trash the goalies for that? No. I'm sorry, but going out and getting, not spending $6 million, $7 million on Jacob Markstrom, like the Calgary Flames did, and we'll get to them in a minute, and getting a defenseman to help us for a year, make it, break it. He wants to stay in Edmonton. He already said he wants to re-sign in Edmonton. We went out, got a third line center. We got another scoring wing for depth scoring. We signed Jesse Puljujarvi. So right there, that's Turris, Barrie, Puljujarvi, and Cahoon for the price of one goalie you were going to try and sign. I'm sorry, but I'm taking 4 players over 1. 4 players can make a bigger difference than 1, especially when Jacob Markstrom has troubles at times. And you know what? We might as well just pay the goalies we have to have the same problems and a lot cheaper while getting the players we need. So, of course, I want the Edmonton Oilers to finish first. Now we move on to the Battle of Alberta. Calgary, they went out, got Markstrom. They went out and got, Nugent Hopkins is fighting now, and Chris Tanev. But they did lose TJ Brody, a long time Calgary Flame. Chris Tanev is up there in age. Markstrom's not proven himself that he can actually hold the net even with a defensive team that's not the greatest. I have Edmonton beating Calgary still. Calgary lost a lot of guys from their forward group. Johnny Gaudreau's not playing the best hockey over the last 2 seasons. Sam Bennett hasn't been doing much either. So I believe the Edmonton Oilers do have the edge over the Calgary Flames. And, as much as I hate to say it, I want Calgary not to make the playoffs. But looking at all the Canadian teams like we are doing with Edmonton, Calgary's going to beat Ottawa. Calgary's going to beat, Winnipeg. I'm hoping Montreal's the team that, breaks their season for them. And then we look on to the Vancouver Canucks, which, they added Braden Holtby, a Stanley Cup winning goaltender. He's had his ups and downs since winning the Stanley Cup. And Vancouver also lost Chris Tanev, but they brought in Nate Schmidt from the Vegas Golden Knights in that trade. And, looking at it, Vancouver's probably the same off where they were last season with Tanev and Markstrom as they are with Holtby and Schmidt. They didn't really bolster anything. They lost Tyler Toffoli to Montreal, which he could have a huge impact for the Montreal Canadiens. I totally forgot about him. And then, Edmonton and Vancouver's always been close games. It's hardly ever. I went to the home opener. Edmonton won 3-2 this last season. It's always a good game of hockey when you're playing Vancouver and Edmonton. It's not like it's not as physical as the Battle of Alberta, but there still is a rivalry there, with Edmonton and Vancouver. So my predictions for this upcoming season is you're playing 9 to 10 teams. I have a feeling, the team we play 10 times, there's two of them. It's Vancouver and Calgary. It just makes more logical sense for the NHL to do that. Then there's less flying and everything. You can have that going, and then Winnipeg, Ottawa would probably play, and then so on and so forth. But playing Vancouver and Calgary 9 times is going to prove what this Edmonton Oilers team can do in years coming. For the likes of, maybe there is a Dominic Cahoon re-signing after the season. Maybe there is another Tyler Ennis re-signing depending on how he does. Maybe Jesse Puljujärvi somehow becomes this 60-point guy that we don't know, never heard of. It's a really interesting season. I believe the Edmonton Oilers with this division can actually take it. They've added all this depth players. They have a lot of young rookies. I know some are staying in Europe, and one name that was left off that Europe sheet was Philip Broberg. I don't know if that's just because he was named captain of Team Sweden and he's in Edmonton right now. Maybe they are just going to try him out, see what he has, and send him back. Who knows? But there is no stopping this Edmonton Oilers team this coming season. And I can't wait to January 13th when it's all said and done. And who knows? Maybe in March when we have, I believe it's March when we have the trade deadline, March 28th, I believe it was. And Edmonton's adding pieces again. I am excited for this season, and I hope you guys are too, but that leaves us off because I got to head to work. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.